Happy Monday in Soccer We Trust YouTube fam, because we got some great news, and it's not about saving a bunch of money on your car insurance, by the way. It's about some of our key players in the U.S. men's national team player pool getting healthy and playing again, and our number 9s, and Christian Pulisic scoring some goals. So hit like and subscribe, and let's get after it. Yes! What is up, everybody, and welcome to Brian Ching's favorite podcast in Soccer We Trust. I'm Jimmy Trash Can Cream Cheese Conrad alongside only Hollywood Heath Pearce, the pride of Modesto, because Charlie Truckwagon Davies is, I don't know where he is. It's like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego with this guy? He could be anywhere. He could be on a yacht in the Mediterranean. He could be off one of his house in I don't know where, Costa Rica maybe, in the Pacific. You look like you're trying to track him down, Heath. I don't know where you are, but how's it going? Good to see you.
Yeah, this is like I've got a tracker on Charlie, but I've got a delay. So when I arrive to the place I think he is, which is here right now, he's not here. He's on the move already to the next place. So I'm just doing our show from here. But hopefully we can track Charlie down soon. Jimmy, how you doing, man? How was your weekend?
I'm doing great. I actually went to Minneapolis to be in the stadium, Minnesota United's beautiful stadium, Allianz Fields, to see Minnesota United clinch a playoff spot on MLS Decision Day. That was pretty cool. We'll get into all that in a little bit, but it was fun too. The crowd was great, and the environment's amazing. And if you have a chance to go to an MLS stadium, that would be one I would highly suggest. They did a really good job with that. But Heath, we got a lot to talk about. We have Ricardo Pepi scoring his first ever brace in Europe. We got Christian Pulisic making his second league start and scoring his first league goal under Graham Potter. We have a bunch of guys, Timo Weah, Anthony Robinson, Yunus Musa, Cameron Carter-Vickers, all coming back and getting healthy again. Cameron Carter-Vickers captain Celtic in their 2-1 win against St. Johnstone. And we'll get into everybody, of course. But there's also a player out there that we didn't talk about last week in our coming out of left field to potentially make the 26-man roster. And I wanted to get your thoughts on this because he scored 2 goals for Birmingham this weekend.
He's a defender.
He's a defender. Yeah. Austin Trusty, who is being highly regarded by everybody that I've talked to that are watching him consistently, and the English people who can be judgmental at times about our players, Heath Pearce, but he seems to be winning them over as well. Do you think he's got a chance? Because Chris Richards did not dress again for Crystal Palace this weekend. What do you say?
I mean, from a depth standpoint, he definitely has a chance, right? When you talk about injuries, I think it's probably too late for him to work his way in because he has been playing all season long. And I try to hesitate on passing judgment on a brace for a center back, right?
Like, no, of course. I just like it just hits the radar. It hits the radar different, you know.
He plays consistently there. He generally plays in a back 3, from what I understand, or from what the times that I've sort of seen either lineups or watched on Live Score, seen him play. But certainly from a depth standpoint, he has to be in the conversation, right? When you're thinking about Chris Richards, when we started talking about injuries, we were 60 days out, right? What are we now? The announcement is in exactly 1 month, isn't it not? Is it the 10th?
It is 29 days, yeah.
29 days. So it is coming very quickly, and you need to have players in form, and you can't presume anything. And we know there's probably going to be, we talked about this on the last show, like shock omissions or shock admissions to the team. And there might be one. And when you see performances like that, there's people knocking on the door, and you say, okay, well, don't have any international experience. We know that he was a big part of the Philadelphia Union at one point, and then going to Colorado, and then obviously going to Arsenal on loan. And so there's some potential that's being seen there. And for him to be playing consistently, I think he should at least be on a radar, or at least be watched intimately to know whether or not he's quite at that level to be in the national team. What's your take?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you have Eric Palmer-Brown didn't play this weekend. He got subbed out after his 60th minute because he wasn't playing well in his team's loss in France. Mark McKenzie was part of the 2-1 win for Genk this weekend. And when I'm looking kind of at the players I think Austin Trusty would be competing against, neither one of those guys has really taken their opportunity, McKenzie and Eric Palmer-Brown, when they've gotten into the national team as of late. Now, Austin Trusty was back in camp in January, and so they're aware of him, of course. But sometimes, as we've discussed with our number 9s, sometimes form is undeniable. And if Austin Trusty is playing well enough and consistently enough against top quality competition, and whatever you want to say about the championship, the grind is real. And what I like about the championship in some ways is that you are being tested and punished. And it's physical abuse in some ways, and it's emotional abuse, having to deal with the highs and lows and the amount of games that these guys play. And for him to be steady throughout that and to be able to perform consistently at that level, I think is pretty impressive. And I think it's worth a consideration. The problem is we didn't bring him into this last one when we had the opportunity to do so.
Hey, Jimmy, you want to hear a fun fact on that real quick? So you did improv classes, right?
I did.
So when I moved to New York, I went to Upright Citizens Brigade.
Same. Thanks for copying me. I appreciate that.
You. Well, you were the one that had told me, like, this is a really,
I did. It was really good
to just get out of your comfort zone and learn things. And so I sit down on my first day of class, and this guy's talking to me, asking me what I'm doing. I'm saying, I'm now retired from playing soccer. He goes, yeah, I got this cousin that plays soccer, and I'm thinking, like, okay, this guy's gonna feed me some nonsense. The guy tells me his name's Jeremiah Trusty, and I go, okay, cool, whatever. He goes, I got this my cousin, he plays in Philadelphia. I'm like, what's his name? He's like, Austin Trusty. And Austin Trusty at this point was still just like an academy kid. So it turns out that I took one of the guys I had a partner scene with multiple times during my final is the cousin of Austin Trusty. And I had heard of Austin Trusty before anybody else did, because this guy was like, he's going to be so good. He's going to be a pro. And I'm like, yeah, man, everybody's
going to be a pro.
And so it's just a little small world anecdote there. But yeah,
that's a fun fact. That's a fun fact. All right, before we get into, I'll just leave Austin Trusty there. And I think that's a conversation that'll be interesting, because if Mark McKenzie and Eric Palmer-Brown, if Chris Richards stays hurt, or is it really at 100%? And who knows, somebody else could get hurt with Aaron Long, or maybe Aaron Long falls out of form or out of favor, we should say, in the run of the playoffs, whatever it is in MLS. I just think it's a possibility. And now I think Austin Trusty has just went up my power rankings of left field shouts. So I'll put a bow on that. He's close to the top in that one. Now, I do want to talk about, before we get into the goal scorers this weekend, and we do a lap around the world with how our players performed and anything else you guys want to talk about. If you want to throw us any themes, hit us up on Twitter as well, ISWT Pod. We'd appreciate that, and a follow. But then obviously drop it in the comments here live on YouTube. So 4 players who missed the September international window with injuries returned to action over this weekend. And I think it's really important that we get into these because Timo Weah was one of these. He missed the first 10 games for Lille in the French league, and he made his season debut, and he came on in the 74th minute. He had a sitter. I don't know if you saw this or not, Heath. Jonathan David, Canadian international, does really well to get the ball across. I mean, he's humming it. It's probably knee height, and so Timo tries to kind of side volley it in, and he pops it over the bar. You know what? It happens. It happens. They still won the game, so it wasn't like the end-all be-all. They still got the 3 points. But it would have been nice for him to make his debut with a goal. But it's nice to see him back in action. That's really important. Yunus Musa finally back after not playing for a while. He came out in the 62nd minute in the Valencia's 2-1 win over Osasuna. They were up 2-0 at that point. He got a yellow card 10 minutes later, so I love him that he's still a little chippy in midfield. And also, I forgot that Edinson Cavani now plays for Valencia. And Cavani had a sick assist for Justin Kluivert. That should be a name people are familiar with, his dad, Patrick Kluivert. But they scored a good goal, and Valencia now 7th in La Liga. So that's interesting to see how that continues to play out for Gennaro Gattuso, their manager. Anthony Robinson played the full 90 minutes in Fulham's 3-1 defeat at West Ham United. I don't really feel like I saw him involved in any of the goals they gave up. So it's nice to see him back and healthy. And then Cameron Carter-Vickers played 90 minutes and was the captain in Celtic's 2-1 win over St. Johnstone. Which one are you most excited about there? Or anybody else listening?
Probably Jedi Robinson, only because of the fact that I didn't know that he was fit and healthy, and to see him back in the lineup. I also Kurzawa wasn't dressing, so I don't know if he has some sort of injury or something concern, or just isn't making the match day roster. Very rarely, I don't know how many you dress now, what the rules are, but if it's 18, very rarely do you have 2 left backs right on your bench. You have to go somewhere else with it, or a versatility player. But yeah, just to see him back in was a nice feeling for me, and to see him go and stay fit and healthy. That was a big win for me. Timo Weah is one that I'm just I'm kind of down on. I'm a little bit worried.
He's gonna get hurt again.
Yeah, I'm not even about getting hurt. It's just more of apparently he's been fit and healthy for a while, and either been in a debate with the medical staff as to whether or not he can step in and play right away, or he's just not being treated the way that we want him to be treated going into a World Cup. Why doesn't everybody just prioritize our U.S. men's national team when it comes to club situations? Why can't all the coaches just know how important this is for us U.S. fans? But that's one that 16 minutes is great, but I'd love to see that build. Yunus Musa is another one that I think he's earned his starting spot, so hopefully that's kind of a build back to get back on the field and be a starter, because we need him again in peaking form and healthy. Was there any for you over the weekend that jumped to mind in terms of either, Chris Richards not playing or a player that's finally came back and you're just kind of like, okay, because you look at Weston McKennie, comes off the bench.
Yeah.
On the bench, doesn't play. Like we are in the thick of season for our Americans abroad right now. And then there's also the MLS side of things that, is there anything that came to mind, either relief or more stress for you?
Well, Sergiño Dest gives me some cause for concern. And I'm going to explain the situation starting with last week's midweek game in London against Chelsea in the Champions League, where Milan went there and lost 3-0 and should have lost, didn't play particularly well. Dest was included in that group that didn't play particularly well. And I believe last week is also when Milan's salaries for this season have been released. Did you see those? Sergiño Dest makes more money per week than any other player for Milan.
Wow.
And that puts a target on your back. Hey, first of all, fair play to him, right? But second, it's like 120 a week, 115 a week.
Oh my God, dude. Wow.
Yeah. 100. So it's like 6 million is what he's getting. Now, fair play to him and his agents for getting that. More power to the players if they can get some scratch. Oh, yeah. But he's still on loan from Barcelona, so I don't know exactly who is paying for what. But still, that's his weekly wage, and that's more from what I saw. And I tried to validate it on a few websites. There's one that was kind of anyway. He's in the top 3 for sure, and that's going to put you on a target on your back. So you better be able to play. Once the players figure that out, and if you're not up to that standard, that's going to suck for Milan, because then everybody else is going to be like, hey, I'm better than Dest, and you're paying him this. I need to be paid more than that. So good luck to them with those negotiations. But what's on the field right now, he didn't play particularly well. This weekend against Juventus, they put Pierre Kululu, the 22-year-old, who played some right back coming through the Lyon Youth Academy before Milan signed him in 2020, and they put him there at right back instead of Dest against Juve. And that bummed me out a little bit, because I wanted to see Dest get another chance to kind of work through whatever the issues were for Chelsea. And he didn't get that chance, didn't even get in. And I don't think he's going to play against Chelsea this midweek with the return fixture of match day 4 for the Champions League when they go to the San Siro. I just think that Pioli, the manager for Milan, is going to roll out the same guys or close to the same guys that did it. So that makes me worried for Dest. Now, Weston McKennie came in that same game. He didn't start, and he came on for John Square, as I call him, Juan Cuadrado, who was struggling because they have Theo Hernandez is back, one of the best attacking wing backs in the world for Milan. And they got Rafael Leao, who's probably the best player in Serie A. The guy's ridiculous, right? So you have that on your left side for Milan. And Juan Cuadrado got overrun, and Weston McKennie got thrown out there. And good luck, said Maxi Allegri. And it's just hard to stop those two. These guys are pretty unbelievable players. So he just didn't have much to work with given the situation, and obviously probably not put in a position that plays to his strengths. All things considered. So it wasn't a great look. So but the Dest situation in particular makes me nervous, because he had his chance. He didn't take it. And now I think it's going to take him a while to get back into the team.
Man, it's tough. Again, I go back to the fact that, like, we are sort of, even by way of the national team development of going with all the young players, we've sort of skipped a very important process in our player development, right? It's like we went from being like, survive any team in the Premier League to being like, now we've got big young stars playing at big clubs at a young age. And so Sergiño Dest, I go back to of a player who only played one season at it was like 19 matches or something like that for Ajax, maybe more. I could be wrong on that stat, so don't quote me on that. But now he's finding his rhythm. Where now it's Barcelona, now it's AC Milan. Like, where does he fit into the overall conversation? Is it too big of a club? Does he have all the tools? We know he has the potential, but does he have all the tools to play and develop at the same time at a club that size? And I worry about teams like that. I mean, you see about like Timo Weah being linked to Valencia. I go, is that the right move? I mean, is this the right one for Timo Weah? Is he a 9? Is he a winger? What are we going to get out of him consistently? And to kind of take that to a point I'm trying to make is the conversation recently has been very much about, is Christian Pulisic peaking? And you could see in his performance, maybe not in the first half as like much as we want, but you can see the absolute quality that he has when he feels like he's being backed. And I think there's a big difference that you could see in Christian Pulisic. He's got a lot of upside left, but we've got these guys playing at such big clubs that we're starting to think like, oh, maybe he's peaked, maybe he's maxed, maybe he's at a ceiling and he's got to go somewhere else. Or maybe it's just the wrong club situation, and I think about that across the board for our development from 22 to 26. Yes, there's going to be some new blood coming in, of players that aren't in the national team yet, probably a lot. But we still need that development to go step by step for a lot of our players. And right now, you look at this weekend and you go, some of our big players aren't playing. The ones that we trust the most probably aren't playing, and the ones that we want to play. And there's just it's chaotic this time of year.
I just want to kind of, I said this earlier, I'll say it again, put a button on this Timo Weah conversation, because he did come on as a left winger, and he was bombing the box. So Jonathan David gets the number 9 for Lille in Canada. When he gets the ball, they go and they help join the attack, and he needs to do the same for us. We just don't have the same type of number 9 as Jonathan David, so that obviously lends itself to a different conversation. But Lille, before the roster gets announced, Heath, they play away to Strasbourg, so we'll see if he gets to start or play in that one. Probably won't start, but I can see him being a super sub. Then they got Monaco, Lyon, and Rennes, and those are 3 very, very, very good opponents, and I'm curious to see what kind of impact he's going to have in that, and hopefully he can start to build that confidence, because this World Cup is coming up quick. It is coming up quick. All right, you brought up Christian Pulisic. Let's talk about him. Gets his second Premier League start of the season, but his first under Graham Potter, and scores his first goal. Coincidence, everybody? I think not. And what I loved, and where he had a lot of success, he also had a great chance in the first half, and probably Chelsea's best chance in the first half, is that when he picks up the ball and runs at people, that's when he's at his best. And I'm going to bring up Brendan Aronson as well, because he set up the first goal for Leeds in their 2-1 loss to Crystal Palace. And I want to get into Leeds a little bit more separately here in a little bit. But Brendan Aronson also is very similar. When he picks up the ball and runs at people, that's when those two guys are at their best. My big concern, and we've talked about it before, but I am going to bring it up again, and we don't have to go into the weeds. We struggle, I think, as a national team when other national teams take away that opportunity for us. They take away that space for us to get our wingers to get the ball and run at them, which makes perfect sense. We just got to have a plan B. We've already gone over this, so we don't need to beat a dead horse.
But hey, Jimmy, I will say this before you go too far into it. The Brendan Aronson slalom run for Leeds was fantastic. But there was a play that had I think Aronson touched the ball, but maybe not. But Tyler Adams combination play. No, Brendan Aronson laid it off one touch, goes to Tyler Adams. Tyler Adams plays a through ball to Bamford. And I was like, that speed of play beats anybody. When you are checking back, one touch layoff, goes to the next guy, one touch through ball, Bamford on, goalie makes a big save. For Leeds, I go, okay, Tyler Adams through ball was
excellent.
Short. It was excellent. Brendan Aronson, the awareness to play quickly with a guy on his back and lay it off. Like those kinds of things, you go, that's World Cup level. Yeah, you're playing against Palace. Yes, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. You're playing against 2 top center backs, a very good midfield. That when you have that speed of play, it doesn't matter who you're playing against. That will beat anyone. That will beat anyone in the World Cup to create an opportunity. And I think that creativity, that confidence, Tyler Adams to put a final ball in, Brendan Aronson's awareness again. I just think that there is something there that we shouldn't be fearful of. Oh, what if they press us? What if they sit back? That's just how you have to play at the international game. You have to have ideas. You have to want the ball in tough spaces. You have to be able to play quick. You have to have some creativity. You have to have a little bit of that rhythm to your build-up play, which you usually see in club ball more than international ball. But if we did that, we can create goal-scoring opportunities.
Sure. I just want to give everybody some context. So Leeds was already up 1-0 at this point, and this was going to make it 2-0. There's the combination play that Heath described. And Tyler Adams actually does, he's in his normal spot, and he recognizes there's some space in front of him to help combine and then keep his run moving. He gets the ball back in a great spot, and that unlocks the center backs for Crystal Palace. He plays a nice through ball into Patrick Bamford, who 2 seasons ago would have hit the back of the net. This one was kind of I know the goalkeeper, we could probably said, did well to kind of be patient and stay on his feet, but Bamford was just lacking confidence. That was the kind of it should have been 2, and if it was 2, then I think we're talking a lot different about Leeds coming out of this weekend. But they have yet to win an away game in the Premier League this season. They're currently in 14th, only 3 points away from the relegation zone. So they got Arsenal next at home. So we're going to see what they're made of and how they're going to respond to that. Now, fair enough, they did beat Chelsea at home 3-0 earlier in the season, and that was probably their best performance 90 minutes so far. But to your point, Heath, the Tyler Adams, not that I need him to be the playmaker. That's not what I want him to be thinking about per se, but when he's playing for us, but I do like that he's got that in his bag, and that is an option for us. That if other things are being taken away, that he can step up and potentially identify the space, make quick decisions, and play that final ball.
I mean, look, if we're going to be a pressing team, which I hope that we are, because that's when I think we've been our best, Tyler Adams is going to ultimately win the ball higher spots up the field or need to be higher if he's the first line of press. Yes, we don't want him to leave that back line or expose us too much if we're playing a high line. But to know that we have players like that, I just start to think like this is a guy that does have some tools beyond just being the high energy guy, the captain because he's rah, because he can go out to the wingers in transition and close the down or draw a foul or those types of things that make him so good. We need to trust that ability to go forward too, because when you think about a World Cup, we have no idea who's going to make the big play. None, right? The Clint Dempsey goal against England, like no one knows that was going to happen. You don't know where the goal is going to come from, who's going to go. When sometimes, you lay a ball out to a Tyler Adams and you go, oh, don't shoot. There's somebody better who can shoot, But it could be the big play or the final ball or the magical moment will need to come from one of those 11 players on the field. And we can't just say it has to come from Pulisic or our 9 or whatever. It could be a set piece. It could be in the run of play. But we need a player like Tyler potentially to be the one that makes the big play for us in a World Cup. And so to see him do that going forward with the one chance that he had, yes, they didn't score on it. Yes, the game could have been different, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to give him go too far beyond that. But it just gave me a little bit of hope that our team could come up with some goal scoring opportunities. Because I'm like, the national team right now, I'm like, this is it's dry season right now in terms of our creativity, our attacking, all of that stuff.
Which is why I'm coming around to, and might be hard for me to say out loud, I don't think you can start Brendan and Pulisic at the same time. I think they're too similar in terms of where they want to get the ball, what they want to do. And I just like contrast in my teams. I like that Timo Weah is going to provide a little bit something different. He's looking for the game in a different way than Christian, right? We saw in qualifying, he's excellent at, getting down towards the end line and getting crosses off. Not to say that Brendan can't do that, but that's not what he's looking for. So the more I see it, the more when I start to, they're not like for like these guys, but there's a lot of similarities in their games. And with regard to Christian, he just reached with this goal against Wolves this past weekend in Chelsea's 3-0 win. He's got to 20 career Premier League goals, which he is the third American to do that ever. Clint Dempsey, number 1, 57 Premier League goals. That's a lot, dude. I didn't realize he had that many. And Brian McBride, 36. So shout out to Christian for getting to 20. That's a big deal. There's not too many Americans that have done that. My fear really quick about Christian is that despite this performance, and you remember he had an assist for Chelsea leading into the Champions League and didn't get to play. Graham Potter made 5 subs against AC Milan last midweek in the Champions League and didn't put Christian in there at all. And they sat. Raheem Sterling didn't play this weekend. Aubameyang didn't play this weekend.
Oh, yeah, he's not playing.
And I don't think he's going to play. I don't think he's going to go to the San Siro and play. Now, maybe he comes on if it's situational for 10 minutes, potentially. But it looks like Graham Potter is giving the Premier League work to Christian at the moment and giving the Champions League stuff to some of the other guys. So we'll have to wait and see, but I'm curious to see what happens.
I think his time at Chelsea is done. For me personally, it's just about getting and maximizing minutes to build his confidence for the World Cup. It's like you said, you don't care what people do after the World Cup. Christian, you want to go play for?
Yeah, I don't care.
But in the World
best of luck to you. We'll see you in 26.
Take what you can get and make the most of it so that you feel confident and informed coming into the World Cup. His performances are not going to change his status in the team. They're too deep. They got too many options. And I think if you're Graham Potter, you're like, well, I've got Aubameyang, I've got Raheem Sterling, I've got Mason Mount, who's rounding into form right now again as well after not being in form for most of the season. So it's just more of like when he gets in, can he do the things that make him confident so that when he comes into the national team, we have the best version of him versus the woe is me version, which has some merit, but also can be detrimental to his performances.
All right, we're going to take our first and only break of In Soccer We Trust. When we come back, we got some Ricardo Pepi hype train news to get into and some Josh Sargent hype train news to get into. And, of course, we got to talk about our goalkeepers and how they performed and everything else in between. It's going to be a lot of fun, so don't go anywhere, everybody.
The UEFA Champions League on Paramount Plus. 9 months of heart-stopping, hold-your-breath exhilaration. That's brilliant! With more magic and more drama. While a former Bavarian nails the back of the net in Barcelona, an American trades his stars with zebra stripes, and a Norwegian creates sky blue spectacles. Oh, so stream every sweat-soaked second of regulation time, stoppage time, and extra time. Beyond magnificent! This is the best of the best of the best. This is the UEFA Champions League. Stream every match live, exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back, everybody, to In Soccer We Trust. I am Jimmy Conrad alongside Heath Pearce because Charlie Davies decided to not show up today. And can you guys go to Twitter or Instagram and give him a hard time? That would be fantastic. We'd appreciate that. And while you're on the Twitters, drop a follow to this podcast, ISWT Pod. That would mean a lot to us as we look to continue to grow this amazing community into, ahead of, and during the World Cup. And afterwards, of course, it's going to be plenty to talk about. We have some tremendous young players that are coming through our ranks. Well, let's get into our number 9s, Heath Pearce. We promised it. We're going to deliver. Ricardo Pepi got his first brace, scored 2 goals for Groningen this past weekend. One was a pen, but the other one was a nice combination play to make the game 2-2. He now has 4 goals and 1 assist in his 4 games in the Eredivisie. That's exactly why you needed to get out of Augsburg, and we'd love to see it. Also, before you give me your thoughts on that, Heath Pearce is our number 1 Ricardo Pepi fan here on the podcast. Josh Sargent scored 2 minutes into Norwich's 3-2 loss, unfortunately, at home to Preston North End. But it just looked so easy for Josh. Got the ball wide, nice little cut, hit it near post. Thank you very much. But can he just do that every game for the U.S.? That would be great. And then Jesus Ferreira in FC Dallas's decision day, big 2-1 win over Sporting Kansas City. Had an assist, but I thought he looked very active, looked ready to go, and I think he's going to be really sharp for FC Dallas heading into the playoffs. They're hosting Minnesota United next Monday on FS1. So lots to get into on the MLS side as well. But which one stood out for? I assume Pepe's the one that like this guy's just blowing the doors down in Groningen right now.
Yeah, and look, it's not even about 2 goals, it's a penalty, 1, whatever. It's just about the fact that, like, when you see his movement, when you see the things that he does well, he is a goal scorer. And I just like the fact that he's converting on those, right? Because no matter who you are, when you go into that drought can go on forever. Because no matter what type of striker you are, whether you're clinical or not, or you get 100 chances, or your speed or your power or whatever, you need that confidence of scoring goals. And so that, for me, is only making him, when you watch him, he's busy in the box. He wants the ball in every situation. Like, he's hungry for goals in a way that I don't think we ever saw him, mostly because he was never in and around the goal for Augsburg, ever. You know, he was out on the wings. He was doing a lot of that dirty work. And for a club like Augsburg, yes, they're doing well this year so far. But in previous seasons past, I came from a situation like that when I was in the Bundesliga, where you got a half chance. I remember going in, playing at left midfield against Cottbus in a big game to keep us into the league. I got my 1 chance, goalie made a save, and it was a clear chance. We never got one again, and that was it. And that pain and that disbelief that we couldn't get all 3 points away from home fell on me. The one big chance, the clear chance. I didn't finish it, right? And I remember that being, we worked so hard to get that type of moment. That's what that was like for him at Augsburg. That's a lot of pressure for anybody, young or old, to convert on that type of stuff, right? Because you're just trying to survive in the league. Now he's in a situation where, yes, the club isn't the biggest club in Holland, but the 4-3-3 and the Dutch football system is going to allow him to get the ball in and around the goal and create goal-scoring opportunities. Yes, the team might not win, but he might get 2 goals and they might lose 3-2 like they did. So it's just a good situation for him, being the age that he is, how unproven he is as a career goal scorer. That I'm just excited that they recognize that without waiting 2 or 3 more years to just go, oh yeah, I've wasted all this time now. Now I'm 24 and out of form and missed a couple of years of development.
Yeah, sometimes I forget that Ricardo Pepi's only 19. That just blows my mind. But yeah, to your point, I was really impressed with his evolution so far with Groningen. His confidence continues to grow and grow and grow, and you can see him just being a presence out there where it felt like he was a passenger for Augsburg, right? He's just kind of shadowing the play, hoping maybe something will fall his way. Making good runs at times. Players wouldn't pass him the ball at Augsburg, and it just felt like maybe there was too much pressure, and then there was going to be handcuffs. That pressure was going to handcuff him in some ways, that if he didn't score 3 goals every game, then Augsburg and everybody else were going to be disappointed because they paid so much for him, and so on and so forth. This has been a nice breath of fresh air, and I feel like this is kind of what we want for Christian Pulisic as well. Like, hey, man, you did what you're going to do at Chelsea. Sucks it's not working out. They're not trusting you the way that they should or the way that we hope. And now you got to go find somewhere else and maybe take that. Yeah, maybe feels like a step back, but to go 2 steps forward. Yeah. And I feels like Ricardo Pepi's enjoying this now. And obviously when you score, you get a lot of confidence there. So pretty excited about that. But Josh Sargent continues to do the business, man. I think he's going to make the roster. That's I put my flag in the ground on that a couple months ago.
Charlie called that out, that he wasn't going to make it. I think he's going to make it. And I wanted to take one little note on this real quick, because we had Tom saying MLS players are unfamiliar with pro-rail pressure. Most players are unfamiliar with pro-rail pressure, right? Josh Sargent experienced pro-rail pressure last year. Josh Sargent is doing well this year in the championship, right? So it is a completely different mentality of when you are winning games and when you're surviving. Surviving does not shape diamonds in most of these scenarios. It's stressful. You don't play the way that you want to play. You don't develop the way you want to develop, because everything is about like the coach keeping his job, the club
great point.
the financials. And while I do think every player at a young age should go through that type of stress and mentality, most aren't, like who else from our teams? Yeah, maybe Weston McKennie for a short time before he left, but I think he had jumped ship already. Josh Sargent experienced that at Werder Bremen before he left. But generally, that's not something exclusive to European players that they all go through. Maybe at some point in your career, but that's not a healthy pressure. The pressures of like getting to Europe or getting results and single table
fighting to get into the starting 11, maintaining your starting 11 position.
A lot of pressure.
That's pretty consistent
that you don't have in MLS. The depth of squads, the opportunities, the stress of being away from home, and all that stuff. That's different than pro rel pressure. That's just more trauma than I think anything. But if you experience it once, I think you can grow from it. But it's not something that just sort of, makes you a better player, because it's not. I don't know. I guess I'm trying to like put that part of it to rest. Europe, very different. But I
agree. I think that's an important distinction that you're making. That's a different type of pressure, and maybe that when it seems clear that your team is the worst in MLS, you're not have that fear of relegation, the shame that comes with it. But I'll tell you what, I've been on a team that was the worst in MLS, and it sucks. Yeah. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't. It makes me, and I assume it. If you're a professional athlete, you're trying to get better every time you step on the field, or that's in theory at least. Yeah. That you don't want to be on the worst team in the league. It's not a good look. And for let's say it like this: I knew that if I wanted to be on the national team, and it's been well documented that I'm 75 years old and played in multiple World Cups and all that good stuff. But
I knew so many times, Jimmy, I don't actually know how old you are anymore.
That's great. which is great. Nobody knows. And I act like I'm 17. So like my median's around 30. Yeah. So I knew, though, just to give some people some context with regard to this, I knew that if I was on the worst team in MLS, there's not a goddamn chance in hell I'm going to go play for the national team. The national team isn't looking for guys that play on the worst team in MLS. They just don't. And okay, maybe a guy started in the player pool and he's been in and around. Jackson Ewell, I'll use him for an example, right? Then all of a sudden, he's the captain of one of the worst teams in MLS. Do we call him on anymore? No. Should we? No. He's not on it. He's not doing. Maybe he could say, "Well, I'm surrounded by whatever it is." But I knew that if I wanted to, like, I knew that because I didn't play for youth national teams, I didn't have let's say the traditional route of getting identified and all that, right? I had to fight for it in a different way. But I knew if I was going to do that, I had to be a part of the best defense in the league. The best defense in the league was going to be undeniable. And from there, MLS was going to have to recognize it. And if I could be an all-star or up for MLS Defender of the Year, that's going to start to have the national team coaches like, oh, look at this guy. Yeah, he's quietly putting together a good defensive season. Look at that guy. Let's see if he can do it again. Did it again. Then I finally got called in, right? So that is the pressure. If you really want to be considered for the national, you can't be on a shit team. You just can't. No matter where you are around the world, you might get a look. You might get a look at some point. You got to make the most of that look. Mm-hmm. But once they see you and you're like, yeah, well, no wonder they're part of it. He's part of a crap team. He's crap. Then that's it. And there goes your opportunity. So,
well, how about this?
Go ahead.
How about this on that note? Do you think the same is applicable to, we talk about Austin Trusty with 2 goals, but Zach Steffen, 5 saves, but they lose a lot. They give up a lot of goals. Now, it's different. If you're a defender, it is really undeniable. And, you and I both been in situations where you're like, dude, I had nothing to do with that goal. Right? Nothing I could have done. It was a through ball over the top on somebody like, and there's just no way you could have contributed to it differently. But it becomes, you have to make it undeniable that you should be called in with the quality that you have. And that tends to leading to making the players around you better and things like that. Right. For the goalkeeper situation, looking at Zach Steffen, continues to give up goals, but making some solid saves. And again, full transparency, I haven't watched 90-minute matches of him for every match for every weekend. But do you think that has an effect on the way he's being perceived or judged, or
yes, I do.
Versus Matt Turner, who's not even playing?
There's no question. I mean, we could argue Matt Turner did play Europa League midweek and got a clean sheet and made a good couple saves, right? There's still a lot of questions about his feet, and Arsenal fans aren't excited and get really nervous when he's got the ball at his feet. But the guy makes saves. I mean, he's a world-class shot stopper. That feels undeniable at this point. Now, he didn't play this weekend, Matt Turner. Aaron Ramsdale is going to get back in. Zach Steffen, though, was man of the match in Middlesbrough's 1-0 win midweek. And then he was not man of the match against Millwall when they lost 2-0. And they've got a new manager in Leo Perkovic who seems to like him. So that's good. But I think what I would want from Zach is just that consistency. And unfortunately, his consistency is tied to results because he's the last guy, right? So the responsibility, some of it is going to have to fall to him, whether it's his fault or not. It's tough for the goalkeepers in particular. I watched Joe Scally this weekend. Mönchengladbach won 5-2. He wasn't really involved on the 5 goals, and he wasn't really involved in the 2 they gave up. So well played, Joe Scally, right? I mean,
they got a nice win bonus, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then Ethan Horvath. 180 minutes, right? He played 180 minutes this past week. They're unbeaten in their last 5, Luton Town. They're up to 9th, so things are gravy. But there's a 3-3 draw with Huddersfield midweek, and then there's a 0-0 away to West Brom. I mean, it's just...
You want to give me your 3 up, 3 down?
Yeah, let's do 3 up, 3 down.
Okay. Do you want me to start, or you want to go first?
Yeah, good question. 3 up, 3 down.
Okay.
Go ahead. What are you going to do? You're going to go down first and get Matt Turner again?
I'll go down first. Zach Steffen won again. I just want goalkeepers to be playing. That's check 1. So it's a little bit harsh on him.
So wait, he's up right now. He's up or down?
Down.
He's down.
I want him to be playing, so that's up to me.
Man of the match midweek, down on the weekend for Heath.
Yeah. Just again,
harsh, baby. Harsh.
I just want him.
Heath does not like goalkeepers. That's
well, it's just hard when you think about, like, I want him to be in a situation where he's confident, and I don't feel he's confident because there's every once a week comes out some moment in the game where they could have been punished because of a Zach Steffen moment, right? And actually, if you go back to early Tim Howard at Man United when he lost his form there, it was one mistake a game, blinders of saves, huge saves, routine saves, and then it was just one moment that costs you. And when I think about the World Cup and the trust in that, I don't see him. I just think that's a down. The other down for me is, who was the other one that I wanted to go with? Weston McKennie not getting the start, and Serginho Dest. Those are 2 players that I want to be playing week in and week out. Yes, Weston McKennie playing is something, but and then my. Do you want to do your 3 down or me?
Let me do my 3 down. My 3 down. Serginho Dest. I think that situation is not looking good for him. That's just me trying to read between the lines about what I'm seeing and how well Milan performed against Juve. And I think they're going to roll out a similar lineup, so that gives me some concern, as I mentioned before. I will say that Jordan Pefok just hasn't been as dominant. Somebody dropped in the chat that he's gotten 1 shot on goal in his last 5 games, I think, in all competitions. Got 0 shots this past weekend. At some point, Union Berlin, where at some point we're going to cool off. They're just way too hot. And so I just think it's when he doesn't play, this is what happens when you're on the bubble. If you don't play well, then it gives
every reason to let you out.
Yeah, like, look at. He just got hot. Nah, he's fine. You know, he's come back down to earth. This is the Jordy Pefok we know. It's not fair to him at all. But that's what coaching staffs can do. Is Greg Berhalter and his coaching staff doing that? I'm not sure, but I'm just saying they can use that against him, and that makes me a little fearful for him, especially as Pepe scoring goals, Sargent scoring goals, and Ferreira's being really active. And I think there was an interview where Greg did come out and say, maybe it was the Andrew Wiebe interview, where he said, we're not going to take 4 strikers to the World Cup or something like that. So it's interesting to see. I think that could change his mind since it's been expanded to 26. So I got Jordy Pefok in there as well. And Eric Palmer-Brown, another bubble player. Obviously, center back is still feels like it's up in the air a little bit, and him not having a good performance, again, kind of falls into the Jordy Pefok area where it's not looking great. So those are kind of the ones that I would say kind of jump out at me.
That's fine. I mean, the other one I would say is Jesse Marsch. Again, he's got to manage these games out. They had a really good first half for one of the 3 downs. Really good first half for them. Gave up a goal on a set piece against the run of play. But again, those are the kinds of things that are going to hurt you. And the first half, again, they had a real system of play, the way that they wanted to play. They just looked like they looked like they had purpose in the way they were going to play, not just like the chaos of pressing well, and not to be disrespectful to the pressing game, but and then in the second half, a very different team. And so that's one that I'm like, they got to keep continuing to add like 5 minutes of extended quality to their system if they want to put together complete performances or be mid-table team and safe for the majority of the season this year. But that would have been the only other down that I was thinking of.
Jesse Marsch, I mean, it's obviously he is a flag in the ground for Americans as really the only coach. And I remember having a conversation when I went over there with him and just how hard it was and how difficult it is to find the time to go get your UEFA badges.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you say you're a coach, an American coach over here, and you've gotten, your U.S. soccer licenses, and you're all the way up there, and like, okay, now I got to do an 18-month program to go get my UEFA while I'm coaching now. It's just a lot. And then to get over there, I mean, he had that opportunity where he got to be an assistant with RB Leipzig before he took over RB Salzburg. So he then had not the full-time pressure of being the main guy. He can continue to get his UEFA Pro. And it's just, he was just telling me that it's such an intensive process. It's just going to be really hard for whoever wants to fall. He's like, I can't wait. I hope more and more people come. It's just a big commitment and a big sacrifice. Obviously, his family had to buy in as well, moving his whole wife and kids and moving them around Europe. And sure, there's a lot of romanticism attached to that, but I'm sure it's really difficult as well to manage that. So that's just, it's interesting to see how that's going to play out. So yes, I want Jesse Marsch to do well, and for a lot of reasons, and but just for him on a personal level, just to prove that we know what we're doing, and that we know the game. There's so much pressure on Americans to have to like prove it 10 times over because they got lucky the first. There's always some caveat as to if we have any success. Yeah.
Well, I'll give you my 3 up then real quick. Jedi Robinson, Ricardo Pepi, and the other one I was gonna go with, which was, man, I just lost it here. I mean, I should be giving it to a goal scorer like Christian Pulisic and stuff. So
I mean, is that up though? I mean.
But the one that's
up for his situation,
Kevin Paredes as an up, only because of the fact that he is an incredible player, still 19 years old, and starting to be, the third guy off the bench for Wolfsburg, which I think is a really important player outside of our pool, outside of the landscape of going to the World Cup, that we need to be pushing forward, because as soon as 22 World Cup ends, we've got a whole new generation that we've got to be able to go to, and he's 19 years old. To see him getting
that's a good shout.
Is really important. So
it's a good shout. It's a good shout. I'd probably I put Ricardo Pepi in there for sure. This is in no particular order. I think Austin Trusty is starting to obviously scoring goals puts him on a radar. It just helps bring more attention to how he's been performing consistently for Birmingham up until this point. Right. So I put him on the list as kind of sneaking up and maybe making some noise there. And then I'm just going to package all the injured guys that came back to full health. Yunus Musa, Anthony Robinson, Cameron Carter-Vickers, and Timo Weah. Yeah, thank you. So those are all ups for me. So those are a lot of ups. I'm feeling good about the ups. And ultimately, overall, I think the player pool had a pretty good weekend, all things considered. So I'm excited about that. Long may it continue. Obviously, a lot of guys have midweek games, and we'll see if they get valuable minutes to make a difference. Yeah. Any final thoughts then? We kind of like tying this one up with a nice little bow. Let us know your 3 up and 3 down on the Twitter at ISWT Pod. You can drop them here. We can dissect it as well. We're going to have a couple big shows for you, as we always do, working on a special guest for this week as well. We'll come to you on Thursday. We'll go live 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And then on Friday, we'll do 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Heath, it's great to do with you.
My final thoughts, just, Champions League well underway. And we've got Champions League again this week. So I'm excited to see if some of our Americans get featured minutes and get a chance to prove themselves on an even bigger stage to further sort of I don't even know the word, kill any of our fears of them not being
informed. That got intense really quick.
Of players that the quality that they have. I wanted to see it come through in Champions League as well. So just that's my final thought there.
Okay. I got 2 final thoughts, and I think one will probably open up the conversation again, because that's what we do. The first one is, it's our 100th episode of In Soccer We Trust on Thursday, so come back and celebrate with us. That'll be a lot of fun. I can't believe we've done 100.
I think we should figure out a way to do a giveaway, right?
We should do a giveaway. Okay, how about, you want me to do this? I can do a Tyler Adams and Brendan Aronson jersey giveaway, Leeds jerseys giveaway. What do you think?
Okay, I like
that. Let's do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I got that. I got the away kit as well. So just so everybody can see it, I got some Tyler Adams and Brendan Aronson kits. I went big on the Leeds kits, okay?
Nice.
Okay, I'm just supporting the guys over there. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. What's that?
Did they give you a discount at the club store?
They did not. I did not get a discount.
$1 to pound is the discount.
Yeah, I got absolutely crushed on these. But you know what? It's for a good cause, and that is to giving it away to our community. Let's do that. Thursday, giveaway, special, 100th episode. We got to make it happen.
You're not getting it.
All right, MLS Decision Day, though, Heath. We didn't really get into that. Big games. And I loved being in Minneapolis because when I was talking to fans, both Vancouver and Minnesota, whoever won that game was booking their ticket. and you could feel the tension. You could feel it in the fans. And Minnesota had been struggling leading into this one, and they just needed to make it happen. A draw would have saw them through as well, but it was cool to be in an environment where there was so much at stake. And I love big games, so it was a big honor to be there and to be a part of it in some capacity. And now it's set. MLS playoffs are set. We'll obviously talk about it a little bit more on our preview show on Friday. But just for everybody that doesn't know, we got the Red Bulls taking on FC Cincinnati. We have LA Galaxy taking on Nashville. That's a pretty good one. That's in LA. Austin FC taking on Real Salt Lake. We have Montreal, who've been excellent this season, quietly one of Heath's former clubs, one of many of Heath's former clubs, doing very, very well. They're hosting Orlando City. NYCFC taking on Gonzalo Higuain and Phil Neville. That'll be on Tuesday, or maybe it's Monday night that's happening. FC Dallas, that is Monday. FC Dallas will take on Minnesota, or host Minnesota United. And then LAFC, Supporters Shields winners get a bye in the first round. And then Philadelphia Union had the best record in the Eastern Conference, so they'll get a bye as well. I don't really like the bye, I'll be honest. I think it slows you down from your rhythm, but those two teams have been excellent.
They lose to Nashville, so they probably want a little bye and a break after that.
Yeah,
it's all about going into form on that.
So I don't think there's been too many Supporters Shield winners that have actually gone on to win MLS Cup. Do you think that? I
think Toronto did.
Only Toronto comes to mind.
I think LA Galaxy did one time too.
Okay, so you got 2 out of 27 or 28 seasons that have actually done it. Do you think LAFC are going to win MLS Cup?
There's no Seattle this year, so that could be one way for them to get closer to a cup.
No Cascadia teams at all. No Portland Timbers, no Seattle Sounders, no Vancouver Whitecaps.
Bases you want this time of year, really, really going hard. But yeah, I mean they definitely got a chance, but they weren't great against Nashville. Nashville played the way that I think you see a
playoff team playing.
Yeah, Seattle team will play against them. Well, Seattle would play them in the playoffs where they'll play ugly, they'll play scrappy, they'll just make it really, really hard for you. And that's where LAFC have to find the next gear. Again, under Steve Cherundolo, very different than under Bob Bradley. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm excited for the playoffs, and we'll give you guys more of a breakdown about that and our player pool and who's involved moving forward on Friday in particular. So thank you for listening and watching In Soccer We Trust. As always, on behalf of producer Des, producer Alex, I guess Charlie Chuck Wagon Davies, and Hollywood Heath Pearce, I'm Jimmy Cream Cheese Trash Can Conradinho Conrad saying thank you again for all your support. We really appreciate you, and we will see you on Thursday. Enjoy the Champions League, everybody. Later.